The memory threshold. Why Christmas unlocks our deepest calm. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe slowly. Now imagine the scent of cinnamon and pine filling the air around you. Somewhere in the darkness of your mind, a door begins to open. It is not a door you have consciously chosen to unlock. Instead, it appears every year at this time, bringing with it a cascade of sensations, emotions, and half-remembered moments that feel simultaneously foreign and intimately familiar. This is the threshold of memory that Christmas creates, a neurobiological gateway that transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary states of profound calm. Before we begin this journey into the science of nostalgia, I invite you to subscribe to the Relaxing Science channel. Give this video a like and share your location and the time below. Your presence here matters, and your engagement helps us create more content like this for those seeking peace through understanding. What happens in your brain during the holiday season is far more than sentiment or emotion. It is a precise neurochemical event, a coordinated symphony of brain regions activating in patterns that have been shaped by decades of repeated experience. Every Christmas you have ever lived through has left an imprint, not just in your memory, but in the very structure of your nervous system. These imprints do not fade, instead they accumulate layer upon layer, creating a neurobiological substrate so deeply ingrained that the mere suggestion of the season can trigger a cascade of calming responses throughout your entire body. The memory threshold operates like this. Your brain, particularly a region called the medial prefrontal cortex, has learned to associate the arrival of December with safety. This is not a conscious learning process. You did not sit down and decide that Christmas would be safe. Rather, through countless repetitions spanning your entire life, your brain has encoded a pattern. The shortening days, the cooling temperatures, the particular quality of light in winter, the sounds of carols and bells, the taste of familiar foods, the sight of decorations, all of these sensory inputs have been woven together into a multi-sensory tapestry that your brain recognizes instantly. When you encounter these sensory cues, your brain does not process them as new information. Instead, it retrieves a vast network of associated memories, emotions, and bodily states that have accumulated across your lifetime. A single whiff of pine can transport you backward through time, not to a specific moment, but to a feeling, a sense of being held, of being safe, of being home. This transportation through time is not metaphorical. It is a genuine neurological event involving the activation of your hippocampus, your amygdala, and your default mode network, all working in concert to collapse the temporal distance between your present moment and your past experiences. What makes this process so profoundly calming is that the memories Christmas activates are typically among the earliest, deepest, and most emotionally significant of your life. Childhood Christmases, for most people, are associated with unconditional safety. There was an adult present who was responsible for your well-being. There was the promise of rest, of slowing down, of being together with those you loved. There was permission to be still, to be present, to simply exist without striving or achieving. These early experiences are encoded not just in your conscious memory, but in your implicit memory systems, the deeper, more primitive parts of your brain that regulate your nervous system's basic responses to safety and danger. The threshold, then, is the point at which these ancient safety signals become activated. It is the moment when your brain recognizes the season and begins to shift your entire physiology toward a state of rest. Your heart rate begins to slow. Your breathing deepens. Your muscles begin to release tension they have held for months. Stress hormones that have been circulating through your bloodstream begin to decrease. And all of this happens not because you have taken a medication or engaged in a deliberate relaxation practice, but because your brain has recognized a pattern that it has learned over decades to associate with safety and peace. This is the power of the memory threshold. It is not simply about remembering the past. It is about the past reaching forward into your present moment and fundamentally altering your physiology. Christmas does not just bring memories of calm. It brings the actual neurochemical state of calm with it. The distinction is crucial. Your brain is not merely thinking calming thoughts. Rather, it is activating the physiological infrastructure of peace, The nervous system pathways, the neurotransmitter systems, the hormonal cascades that constitute the actual biological state of rest. Consider that your brain is constantly making predictions about what is coming next. It uses past experience to anticipate the future. When December arrives, your brain makes a prediction based on decades of accumulated data. Safety is coming. Rest is coming. A slowing down is coming, and because your brain is predictive, it does not wait for these things to actually arrive. Instead, it begins to prepare your body for them in advance. This anticipatory response is one of the most powerful mechanisms in the human nervous system, and it is why the mere approach of the holiday season can begin to calm you. Sometimes even before you consciously realize that the season has begun. The memory threshold is also profoundly individual. No two people have the same Christmas memories, and therefore no two people activate exactly the same neural networks when they encounter holiday cues. For some, Christmas memories are bright and joyful, filled with the presence of beloved people. For others, they are more complex, tinged with loss or longing. Yet regardless of these differences, the fundamental mechanism remains the same. The brain is reaching backward through time, retrieving deeply encoded patterns, and using those patterns to reshape the present moment. What you are experiencing during the holiday season is not magical, though it may feel that way. It is neuroscience. It is your brain's extraordinary capacity to learn from the past and to use that learning to create the conditions for peace and rest in the present. Understanding this mechanism, rather than diminishing its power, actually deepens it. When you know that your calm is rooted in real neurobiological processes, when you understand that your brain has learned safety through repetition and is now offering you that learning as a gift, the experience becomes even more profound. As we move forward together through this exploration, we will examine each of the systems involved in this remarkable transformation. We will look at how your nervous system shifts toward rest, how your brain chemistry changes, how your memories are reconstructed and consolidated, and how all of these processes work together to create the deep, restorative calm that Christmas offers. This is not merely an intellectual exercise. This is an invitation to understand yourself more deeply, to appreciate the wisdom embedded in your own nervous system, and to recognize that the peace you feel during this season is not a luxury or an indulgence. It is a biological necessity that your brain has learned to create. The neurobiology of nostalgia. How your brain reconstructs safety. Your brain does not store memories like a video camera stores footage. This is one of the most important insights in modern neuroscience, and it fundamentally changes how we understand nostalgia. Every time you recall a memory, you are not retrieving a fixed, unchanging record of what happened. Instead, you are reconstructing that memory from fragments scattered across multiple brain regions. Your brain gathers these fragments, weaves them together, and presents you with what feels like a complete experience. This reconstructive process is what makes nostalgia so powerful, and it is also what makes it so profoundly calming. When you think about a Christmas from your childhood, you might remember the scent of your grandmother's kitchen, the feeling of soft blankets, the sound of laughter, the taste of a particular food. But you do not remember these elements as isolated sensations. Instead, your brain integrates them into a unified experience that feels coherent and whole. This integration is not automatic or simple. It requires the coordinated activation of multiple brain systems, each contributing different aspects of the memory. The process begins in your medial temporal lobe, a region deep within your brain that includes the hippocampus. The hippocampus serves as a kind of binding agent, a neural structure that links together information from different sensory systems and different time periods. When you recall a Christmas memory, your hippocampus activates and begins to retrieve connections between the various elements of that memory. It says, in effect, this scent goes with this feeling, this sound goes with this person, this taste goes with this moment in time. But the hippocampus does not work alone. It works in concert with your cortex, the outer layer of your brain that processes more complex conceptual information. Your sensory cortices, the regions that process sight, sound, smell, and taste, become activated, recreating the sensory dimensions of the memory. Your prefrontal cortex, involved in meaning-making and emotional regulation, becomes engaged, adding context and interpretation to the fragments. Your amygdala, which processes emotional significance, becomes activated, infusing the memory with feeling and emotional weight. What emerges from this coordinated activation is not a copy of the original experience. It is a reconstruction, a new creation that bears the imprint of the original, but is also shaped by everything that has happened to you since that original moment. This is crucial to understand. Your memories are not static. They are dynamic. They change every time you recall them, incorporating new information, new perspective, new emotional context. This reconstructive nature of memory is what makes nostalgia so neurologically distinct from other forms of remembering. When you recall a memory for practical purposes, for example, when you try to remember where you parked your car, you are engaging primarily your hippocampus and your cortex in a relatively straightforward retrieval process. But when you engage in nostalgia, you are engaging a much broader network of brain regions, and you are doing something quite different. You are not trying to retrieve accurate information. Instead, you are retrieving emotional significance. You are reconstructing not what happened, but what that happening meant to you. The reconstruction process, when it involves nostalgia, tends to activate regions associated with emotional regulation and self-referential processing. Your medial prefrontal cortex becomes highly active, the region involved in thinking about yourself and your place in the world. Your posterior cingulate cortex, involved in memory retrieval and self-reflection, engages. Your precuneus, involved in the sense of self and personal perspective, activates. Together, these regions create what neuroscientists call the default mode network, a large-scale brain system that becomes active when you are not focused on the external world, but are instead turned inward, toward your own thoughts, feelings, and memories. This inward turning is profoundly calming. When your brain is engaged in the default mode network, it is not in a state of vigilance or threat detection. It is not scanning the environment for danger or preparing your body for action. Instead, it is engaged in introspection, in meaning-making, in the integration of experience. This shift from external vigilance to internal reflection is one of the primary mechanisms through which nostalgia creates calm. But there is something else happening as well. When you reconstruct a memory of Christmas safety, your brain is not just retrieving information. It is also activating the neural and neurochemical systems that were active during the original experience. Your amygdala, which was calm during that childhood Christmas, becomes calm again in response to the reconstructed memory. Your parasympathetic nervous system, which was active during that moment of safety, begins to activate again. Your body begins to respond to the reconstructed memory as if it were encountering safety in the present moment. This is the genius of nostalgia. It allows your brain to access states of safety from the past and to bring those states into the present. The reconstruction is not perfect, and perhaps that is part of what makes it so powerful. The fragmentary nature of nostalgic memory, the fact that details are hazy and impressionistic, may actually enhance its calming effects. When you remember a Christmas without perfect clarity, without the sharp edges of exact detail, your brain can fill in the gaps in ways that are emotionally meaningful and soothing. The neurobiology of nostalgia also involves what is called semantic memory, the memory of facts and meanings as opposed to episodic memory, which is memory of specific events. When you think about Christmas, you are activating not just specific memories of specific Christmases, but also your general knowledge about what Christmas means, what it represents, what it stands for in your life and in your culture. This semantic layer adds another dimension to the calming effects of nostalgia. Christmas is not just a collection of specific memories. It is also a symbol, a concept, a meaning structure that your brain has learned to associate with safety, rest, and peace. The reconstruction process is also deeply influenced by your current emotional state and your current needs. If you are anxious or stressed, your brain will tend to reconstruct Christmas memories in ways that emphasize safety and comfort. If you are lonely, your brain will tend to emphasize the relational and social dimensions of Christmas memories. Your brain is constantly using your memories to serve your present needs, to provide what you most require in this moment. In this way, Nostalgia is not an escape from the present. It is a tool that your brain uses to meet your present needs by drawing on the resources of the past. This understanding of nostalgia as reconstruction has profound implications. It means that the calm you feel when you engage in nostalgic remembering is not based on an illusion or a distortion. Rather, it is based on a real activation of the neural systems that generate calm. Your brain is genuinely shifting into a more peaceful state. The memories may be reconstructed rather than perfectly accurate, but the calm they generate is real. The neurochemistry they activate is real. The shift in your nervous system is real. The parasympathetic awakening. When familiar scents slow your heart, there exists within your nervous system a remarkable mechanism, often called the parasympathetic nervous system, that is sometimes described as your body's brake pedal. When this system activates, your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, your digestion improves, and your entire physiology shifts toward a state of rest and restoration. This system is not something you control consciously. It operates automatically, below the threshold of awareness. Yet it is profoundly sensitive to signals from your environment, and during the holiday season, these signals become particularly powerful. The parasympathetic nervous system is activated through a structure called the vagus nerve, a long, wandering nerve that extends from your brainstem down through your neck, chest, and abdomen, connecting your brain to virtually every major organ in your body. This nerve is like a superhighway of communication between your brain and your body, and when activated, it sends messages that tell your heart to slow down, your lungs to relax, your stomach to begin digestive processes, and your entire body to shift into a state of ease. During the holiday season, your parasympathetic nervous system is awakened not by a conscious decision or deliberate practice, but by sensory signals, particularly olfactory signals, signals from smell. The scent of cinnamon, pine, nutmeg, and clove, the aromas associated with Christmas, have a direct pathway to your brain's limbic system, the ancient emotional and memory center. Unlike other senses, smell does not have to pass through the thalamus, the brain's sensory relay station. Instead, olfactory information goes directly to your olfactory bulb, which has direct connections to your amygdala and your hippocampus. This direct pathway means that scents can activate emotional and autonomic responses with remarkable speed and power. When you smell cinnamon, your brain does not have to think about what that scent means. Instead, your brain recognizes it instantly, retrieves associated memories and emotions, and begins to shift your physiology accordingly. If cinnamon has been associated with safety and comfort throughout your life, then the scent of cinnamon can trigger a parasympathetic response within seconds. This process is called olfactory conditioning, and it is one of the most powerful forms of learning in the human nervous system. Every time you have experienced cinnamon in a context of safety, baking with a loved one, sitting by a fire, being cared for, your brain has formed an association between that scent and that state of safety. Over decades, these associations accumulate. The scent becomes a kind of shorthand, a sensory code that your brain recognizes as a signal of safety and peace. What happens in your body when this signal is received is remarkable. Your vagus nerve activates and your parasympathetic nervous system begins to engage. Your sympathetic nervous system, which has been maintaining a baseline level of activation to keep you alert and responsive to potential threats, begins to downregulate. This shift is not dramatic or sudden, rather it is gradual and gentle, a slow turning down of the volume on stress responses and a slow turning up of the volume on rest and restoration responses. Your heart rate begins to slow. This is not a small change. A heart that has been beating at 70 or 80 beats per minute may slow to 60 or even 55 beats per minute. This slowing reflects a fundamental shift in your physiology. Your body is no longer preparing for action or threat. Instead, it is preparing for rest and repair. With each slower heartbeat, your brain receives signals that reinforce the sense of safety. Your brain interprets the slowing heart rate as evidence that there is no threat, that the environment is safe, and it responds by deepening the parasympathetic activation further. Your breathing also changes. When your sympathetic nervous system is dominant, your breathing tends to be shallow and rapid, originating from your chest. This pattern of breathing is efficient for survival situations, allowing you to take in oxygen quickly in preparation for action. But when your parasympathetic nervous system activates, your breathing shifts. It becomes slower, deeper, and more diaphragmatic. Your abdomen expands as you breathe rather than just your chest. This shift in breathing pattern is both a result of parasympathetic activation and a reinforcement of it. Slow, deep breathing further activates your parasympathetic nervous system, creating a positive feedback loop. The slowing of your heart and the deepening of your breathing create a cascade of further changes. Your blood pressure begins to normalize. Your muscles begin to relax. Tension that you may not have even been aware you were holding begins to release. Your digestive system, which has been suppressed during periods of stress, begins to reactivate. Your body begins to redirect resources away from survival systems and toward maintenance and repair systems. This is the physiology of peace, and it is being triggered by a scent that your brain has learned to associate with safety. The remarkable thing about this process is that it does not require the scent to be present in your physical environment for the response to occur. Simply thinking about the scent, simply recalling the memory of the scent, can trigger a parasympathetic response. Your brain does not clearly distinguish between a scent that is actually present and a scent that is vividly remembered. Both activate similar neural networks, and both can trigger similar physiological responses. This is why nostalgic memories, even when they are purely mental, can produce real physiological calm. The parasympathetic awakening is not limited to smell. Other sensory inputs also trigger this response. The sound of Christmas carols, particularly those with slower tempos and minor keys, can activate parasympathetic responses. The sight of warm lights and familiar decorations can trigger the activation of safety networks. The taste of familiar foods can activate nostalgic memories that in turn activate parasympathetic responses. The feeling of soft textures, blankets, sweaters, the touch of a loved one can trigger relaxation responses. All of these sensory modalities converge to create a multisensory experience of safety that engages your entire nervous system. What is particularly interesting is that the parasympathetic response to Christmas cues appears to be more rapid and more complete than the response to many other relaxation techniques. While meditation or progressive muscle relaxation might take 10 or 15 minutes to significantly shift your nervous system toward parasympathetic dominance, the scent of cinnamon or the sound of a familiar carol can begin to shift your physiology within seconds. This is because these sensory cues are not just triggering a general relaxation response. They are triggering a highly specific, deeply learned response that has been encoded in your nervous system through decades of repetition. The parasympathetic awakening during the holiday season is also interesting because it appears to deepen over the course of the season. The first encounter with Christmas cues might trigger a modest parasympathetic response, but as you encounter these cues repeatedly over the weeks and months of the season, the response tends to deepen. Your nervous system becomes increasingly primed to respond to these cues. Your baseline level of parasympathetic activation increases. Your entire physiology begins to shift toward a state of greater rest and relaxation. By the time you reach the winter solstice, the longest night of the year, your entire nervous system may be operating in a much more parasympathetic dominant state than it was at the beginning of the season. Cortisol and the chemistry of comfort, the science behind letting go. In the depths of your brain, nestled within a region called the hypothalamus, there exists a small but powerful structure that acts as the master regulator of your stress response system. This structure, called the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis, controls the release of a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, and while this term is somewhat misleading, cortisol is essential for life and serves many important functions. It is true that excessive cortisol is associated with chronic stress, anxiety, poor sleep, and reduced immune function. Throughout most of the year, for most people, cortisol levels are elevated. This elevation is not usually due to acute threats or emergencies. Rather, it is due to the chronic low-grade stress of modern life. You are navigating complex social environments, managing multiple responsibilities, facing uncertainty about the future, and maintaining a level of vigilance that, while necessary for functioning in modern society, comes at a cost to your nervous system. Your cortisol levels remain elevated, your sympathetic nervous system remains partially activated, and your body remains in a state of mild but persistent readiness for threat. But during the holiday season, something remarkable happens. As your brain begins to recognize the seasonal cues of Christmas, as your parasympathetic nervous system begins to activate, as your nostalgic memories begin to engage, your cortisol levels begin to decrease. This is not a small change. Over the weeks of the holiday season, your cortisol levels can drop significantly. This drop reflects a fundamental shift in how your body is interpreting the world around you. Your brain is telling your body, it is safe now. The threat level has decreased. You can relax your defenses. The decrease in cortisol has cascading effects throughout your body. As cortisol levels drop, your immune system begins to function more effectively. Cortisol is immunosuppressive, meaning that high levels of cortisol suppress immune function. When cortisol levels drop, your immune system rebounds, becoming more responsive and more capable of fighting off infections and maintaining health. This is one reason why people often report feeling healthier during the holiday season, despite the fact that winter is typically associated with increased rates of infectious illness. The decrease in cortisol and the resulting improvement in immune function can partially offset the increased exposure to viruses that occurs during the holiday season. The decrease in cortisol also affects your sleep. Cortisol has a natural rhythm, with levels typically highest in the early morning to help you wake and become alert, and lowest in the evening to allow you to fall asleep. But when cortisol levels are chronically elevated, this rhythm becomes disrupted. Your cortisol remains elevated even in the evening, making it difficult to fall asleep. You may lie awake at night, your mind racing with thoughts and worries, your body unable to shift into the deep relaxation necessary for sleep. But as cortisol levels decrease during the holiday season, this rhythm begins to normalize. Your cortisol levels drop more completely in the evening, allowing your body to shift more easily into sleep. Many people report that they sleep more deeply and more restfully during the holiday season, and the decrease in cortisol is a significant part of the mechanism behind this improved sleep. The decrease in cortisol also affects your emotional state. Cortisol is not just a hormone of stress, it is also a hormone that affects mood and emotional regulation. High levels of cortisol are associated with anxiety, depression, and emotional reactivity. When cortisol levels are elevated, you are more likely to interpret ambiguous situations as threatening, more likely to ruminate on negative thoughts, more likely to feel overwhelmed by challenges. But as cortisol levels decrease, your emotional landscape shifts. Ambiguous situations seem less threatening. Negative thoughts seem less compelling. Challenges seem more manageable. Your overall emotional state becomes calmer, more positive, more resilient. The mechanism through which Christmas cues decrease cortisol is multifaceted. Part of it involves the direct activation of your parasympathetic nervous system, which directly inhibits the HPA axis and reduces cortisol release. Part of it involves the activation of safety and reward systems in your brain, which signal to your HPA axis that the threat level has decreased. Part of it involves the social and relational dimensions of the holiday season. Social connection is one of the most powerful regulators of the HPA axis. When you feel connected to others, when you feel a sense of belonging, your cortisol levels decrease. The holiday season, with its emphasis on togetherness and connection, activates these social buffering mechanisms. There is also something called the anticipatory stress response. This is the tendency of your brain to activate stress responses in anticipation of an event that you expect to be stressful. But the opposite is also true. Your brain can activate calming responses in anticipation of an event that you expect to be restful or safe. As the holiday season approaches, your brain begins to anticipate rest and safety. It begins to downregulate your HPA axis in anticipation of the relaxation that is coming. This anticipatory decrease in cortisol means that you may begin to feel calmer even before the holiday season has fully arrived. The decrease in cortisol during the holiday season is also related to the concept of predictability. Your nervous system is profoundly affected by whether the world around you is predictable or unpredictable. Unpredictable environments keep your HPA axis activated as your brain attempts to anticipate what might happen next. But predictable environments allow your HPA axis to downregulate. The holiday season is highly predictable. You know that the same holidays will occur on the same dates. You know that similar traditions will be observed. You know that similar decorations will appear, similar foods will be prepared, similar gatherings will occur. This predictability is deeply calming to your nervous system. Furthermore, the decrease in cortisol is reinforced by behavioral changes that occur during the holiday season. Many people take time off work, reducing the demands and pressures that are major sources of cortisol elevation. Many people spend more time in relaxation and leisure activities. Many people engage in physical activity at moderate levels, which is known to reduce cortisol. Many people spend more time outdoors, and exposure to natural light is known to regulate the circadian rhythm and support healthy cortisol patterns. All of these behavioral changes work together to create conditions that naturally support lower cortisol levels. The chemistry of comfort, then, is fundamentally about the decrease in cortisol and the associated shift in your entire neurochemistry. As cortisol decreases, other neurotransmitters and hormones begin to increase. Serotonin, associated with mood and well-being, increases. Dopamine, associated with reward and motivation, increases. Oxytocin, associated with bonding and safety, increases. Together, these changes create a neurochemical environment that is fundamentally different from the environment of chronic stress. You are literally in a different chemical state, and this chemical state supports rest, restoration, healing, and peace. The hippocampus at work. How fragmented memories become whole again. Deep within your brain, beneath the folds of your cortex, there exists a seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. This structure is one of the most important neural systems for learning and memory. It is particularly crucial for the formation of episodic memories, memories of specific events that happened at specific times in specific places. Without a functioning hippocampus, you could not form new memories of your experiences. But the hippocampus does much more than simply record experiences. It actively processes, organizes, and reconstructs memories, and during the holiday season, this structure becomes particularly active and particularly important. The hippocampus works through a process called pattern completion. When you encounter a fragment of an old memory, a particular scent, a particular sound, a particular visual image, your hippocampus recognizes that fragment and begins to retrieve the associated full pattern. It is as if you have encountered a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, and your hippocampus, knowing the pattern of the full puzzle, fills in all the missing pieces. This process happens automatically and largely unconsciously. You do not have to deliberately try to remember. The hippocampus does the work for you. During the holiday season, your hippocampus is constantly engaged in this pattern completion process. You encounter the scent of pine, and your hippocampus completes the pattern, retrieving memories of Christmas trees, of decorations, of family gatherings, of the feeling of anticipation and joy. You hear a familiar carol, and your hippocampus completes the pattern, retrieving memories of listening to that carol in years past, of the people who were present, of the emotions you felt. Each of these pattern completions is a small act of memory reconstruction, and each one engages your hippocampus in neural activity that is both generative and deeply calming. What is particularly interesting about the hippocampus is that it does not work alone. It works in constant communication with your cortex, the outer layer of your brain. The hippocampus retrieves fragments and patterns, while the cortex provides semantic context and meaning. The hippocampus recognizes that this is a Christmas memory, while the cortex provides the broader context of what Christmas means to you, what it represents, what its significance is in your life. Together, the hippocampus and cortex create a rich, multidimensional memory that is both specific and meaningful. The hippocampus also plays a crucial role in what is called memory reconsolidation. Every time you recall a memory, that memory becomes temporarily malleable. It is no longer locked in place. Instead, it becomes open to modification and updating. Your brain can add new information to the memory, can recontextualize it in light of new understanding, can integrate it with other memories in new ways. Then, through a process called reconsolidation, the memory is locked back in place, now in its updated form. During the holiday season, your nostalgic memories are constantly undergoing reconsolidation. You are not simply retrieving the same memories you retrieved last year. Instead, you are retrieving those memories and updating them in light of everything that has happened to you since then. If you have experienced loss or change in the past year, your Christmas memories may be recontextualized in light of that loss. If you have experienced growth or positive change, your memories may be enriched by that new perspective. The memories become deeper, more nuanced, more integrated with the full trajectory of your life. This process of memory reconsolidation is deeply connected to the calming effects of nostalgia. When you engage in nostalgic remembering, you are not just accessing old memories, you are actively processing and integrating those memories in ways that can resolve emotional conflicts, deepen meaning, and create coherence in your life narrative. This integrative process is profoundly calming because it reduces the cognitive and emotional friction created by disconnected, unintegrated experiences. The hippocampus is also crucial for what is called spatial memory. It helps you remember not just what happened, but where it happened. When you engage in nostalgic remembering, your hippocampus retrieves not just the events of Christmas past, but also the spaces in which those events occurred. You remember the layout of your childhood home, the location of the Christmas tree, the place where you sat, the view from the window. This spatial dimension of memory is particularly powerful in generating a sense of presence and immersion. You do not just remember Christmas. You feel as if you are present in the space of Christmas. This sense of spatial presence is deeply calming because it engages your brain's place recognition systems, systems that are involved in the feeling of being located, of being situated, of being at home. Your brain recognizes the space of childhood Christmas, and this recognition activates neural systems associated with safety and comfort. Even though you are physically in a different location, your brain is partially present in the remembered space, and the recognition of that space as safe generates a sense of calm. The hippocampus is also involved in what is called temporal binding. It helps you understand the temporal relationships between different events, helping you understand the sequence of events and their duration. During nostalgic remembering, your hippocampus engages in temporal binding, helping you understand how the various elements of a Christmas experience fit together in time. You remember not just individual moments, but the flow of moments, the unfolding of the day, the rhythm of the experience. This temporal organization creates a sense of coherence and completeness that is deeply satisfying to your brain. What is remarkable about the hippocampus during the holiday season is that it becomes increasingly efficient at pattern completion. The more you engage in nostalgic remembering, the more readily your hippocampus can complete the patterns associated with Christmas. What might take considerable effort and concentration in November becomes automatic and effortless by December. Your brain has become so practiced at activating these patterns that merely encountering a single cue can trigger the full constellation of associated memories, emotions, and physiological states. This efficiency is itself calming. When your brain can process information efficiently, when patterns are retrieved smoothly without requiring conscious effort or attention, there is a sense of ease and flow. Your brain is not struggling to understand or to remember. Instead, it is moving smoothly through well-worn neural pathways, and this smoothness contributes to the overall experience of calm and relaxation that characterizes the holiday season. Dopamine's gentle gift, the reward system of remembrance. Within your brain exists a chemical messenger called dopamine. For many years, scientists believed that dopamine was primarily associated with pleasure and reward. But modern neuroscience has revealed a more nuanced picture. Dopamine is involved in motivation, anticipation, learning, and attention. It is the neurochemical that drives you toward goals. That makes you feel that something is worth pursuing, that gives value and salience to experiences and memories. During the holiday season, your dopamine system becomes engaged in a particular way that is both gentle and profoundly motivating. Unlike the sharp dopamine spikes that occur in response to sudden rewards or novel stimuli, the dopamine activation associated with nostalgia is more subtle and sustained. It is not a spike, but a gentle elevation, a shift in your baseline dopamine tone that makes the world seem slightly more rewarding, slightly more worth engaging with, slightly more full of meaning. This gentle dopamine activation begins with anticipation. As the holiday season approaches, your brain begins to anticipate the experiences and memories that are associated with Christmas. These anticipations are not conscious desires or explicit goals that you are actively pursuing. Rather, they are implicit anticipations encoded in your memory systems. Your brain knows from decades of experience what is coming, and in anticipation of what is coming, your dopamine levels begin to rise slightly. This anticipatory dopamine activation is profoundly different from the dopamine activation that occurs in response to acute stress or threat. When you are anxious or afraid, your dopamine system is dysregulated. You may experience either excessive dopamine activation, which creates agitation and hypervigilance, or insufficient dopamine activation, which creates apathy and withdrawal. But the anticipatory dopamine activation of the holiday season is balanced and appropriate. It creates a sense of gentle motivation and positive expectation without the agitation that can accompany excessive dopamine. As the holiday season unfolds and you actually encounter the memories and experiences that you have been anticipating, your dopamine system receives confirmation of its predictions. The brain loves accurate predictions. When you predict that something will happen and then it does happen, your brain releases dopamine as a reward for having made an accurate prediction. This prediction error signal, the difference between what you expected and what actually occurred, is one of the most important learning signals in the brain. During the holiday season, your predictions about what will occur are generally accurate. You expect Christmas cues, and you encounter Christmas cues. You expect certain traditions, and they occur. You expect to feel calm and peaceful, and you do. Each of these confirmations of your predictions generates a small dopamine reward, a signal that says, your model of the world is accurate. This creates a positive feedback loop. The more your predictions are confirmed, the more dopamine is released, and the more motivated and engaged you become in the holiday experience. What is particularly interesting about the dopamine system during the holiday season is that it becomes engaged not just with novel experiences, but with familiar ones. Normally, dopamine is associated with novelty. A new experience, a new stimulus, something unexpected. These trigger dopamine release. But familiar experiences, things you have experienced many times before, typically do not trigger dopamine. Yet during the holiday season, familiar experiences, the same carols you have heard every year, the same decorations, the same foods, trigger dopamine activation. This is because these familiar experiences are not processed as mere repetitions. Instead, they are processed as confirmations of your models of safety and peace. The dopamine activation associated with nostalgia also appears to be connected to a sense of meaning. When you engage in nostalgic remembering, when you activate memories that are deeply significant to your life story and your identity, your dopamine system becomes engaged. This is different from the dopamine activation associated with simple pleasure. It is a deeper, more meaningful activation that reflects the significance of what you are remembering. Your brain is saying, this matters. This is important to who you are. This is worth your attention and engagement. This meaning-based dopamine activation is particularly important for sleep and rest. While acute dopamine spikes can be activating and arousing, this gentle, meaning-based dopamine activation is compatible with relaxation and sleep. In fact, it may actually support sleep by creating a sense of satisfaction and completion. Your brain feels that it has encountered something meaningful and important. It can therefore settle into rest with a sense that the day has been well lived, that you have engaged with what matters. The dopamine system also plays a role in memory consolidation. Dopamine release during an experience makes that experience more likely to be remembered and more likely to be integrated into your long-term memory systems. During the holiday season, the gentle dopamine activation that occurs when you engage in nostalgic remembering actually enhances the consolidation of these memories. You are reinforcing the neural networks associated with Christmas memories, making them stronger, more accessible, more likely to be retrieved in future years. This enhancement of memory consolidation creates a kind of positive spiral. The more you engage in nostalgic remembering during the current holiday season, the stronger your Christmas memories become, and the more readily they will be retrieved and engaged with in future years. This means that each year you go through the holiday season, your brain becomes increasingly skilled at activating these memories and increasingly practiced at using these memories to generate calm and peace. The dopamine system is also involved in the social dimensions of the holiday season. Social connection and bonding activate dopamine release. When you are with people you love, when you feel a sense of belonging and connection, your dopamine levels increase. The holiday season, with its emphasis on gathering together, on spending time with loved ones, on strengthening bonds, activates these social dopamine systems. The gentle elevation of dopamine that results from social connection adds another layer to the overall experience of calm and peace. REM sleep and memory consolidation, where Christmas dreams heal us. Every night when you sleep, your brain goes through a series of sleep cycles, each lasting approximately 90 minutes. Within each cycle, you progress through different stages of sleep, from light sleep to deep sleep and back toward lighter sleep again. And within each cycle, you experience a stage called REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement sleep. During REM sleep, your eyes move rapidly from side to side beneath your closed eyelids. Your brain is intensely active, your heart rate and blood pressure increase, and you dream. REM sleep is one of the most important stages of sleep for memory consolidation, particularly for the consolidation of emotional memories and procedural memories. During REM sleep, your brain is not at rest. Rather, it is engaged in active processing, taking the experiences and information you have encountered during the day and integrating them into your long-term memory systems. Memories are replayed, reorganized, and reconsolidated. Emotional content is processed and integrated. New neural connections are formed. Your brain is literally rebuilding and reorganizing itself during REM sleep. During the holiday season, your REM sleep becomes particularly important and particularly active. This is because you are engaging in intense nostalgic remembering during your waking hours. You are activating deep memories, emotional memories, memories laden with meaning and significance. These memories require processing. They require integration. They require consolidation into your long-term memory systems. And this processing, integration, and consolidation happen primarily during REM sleep. What is remarkable is that during REM sleep, your brain does not just passively consolidate memories. Instead, it actively reconstructs and reimagines them. Your dreams during REM sleep are not random neural noise. Rather, they are meaningful narratives that reflect your brain's attempt to make sense of your experiences, to integrate new information with old information, to resolve conflicts and inconsistencies, and to update your understanding of yourself and the world. During the holiday season, your dreams often involve Christmas themes, Christmas memories, Christmas people and places. These dreams are not mere fantasies or escape. Rather, they are your brain's way of processing and integrating the intense nostalgic remembering that you have been engaged in during the day. Your brain is taking the fragments and pieces of Christmas memories that you have been consciously retrieving and is weaving them together into coherent narratives. It is taking emotional content that may be complex or conflicted and is processing it, integrating it, and finding ways to make sense of it. This dream processing is profoundly healing. If you have experienced loss or change in the past year, your dreams during the holiday season may involve processing and integrating that loss. If you have experienced joy or growth, your dreams may involve celebrating and consolidating that joy. Your brain is using the REM sleep period to do emotional work, to process emotional content, to integrate experiences into a coherent sense of self and life narrative. The healing that occurs during REM sleep is not metaphorical, it is neurobiological. The processing and consolidation that occurs during REM sleep actually changes your brain. New neural connections are formed. Existing connections are strengthened or weakened. The structure of your memory systems is literally reorganized. And this reorganization is associated with emotional healing, with the resolution of emotional conflicts, with the integration of traumatic or difficult experiences. One of the remarkable things about REM sleep during the holiday season is that it becomes more abundant. You spend more time in REM sleep during the holiday season than you do during other parts of the year. This is partly because you are sleeping more during the holiday season. Many people do get more sleep during the holidays, but it is also because your brain prioritizes REM sleep when there is important emotional and memory work to be done. Your brain recognizes that you are engaged in deep nostalgic processing, and it allocates more REM sleep to support that processing. The increased REM sleep during the holiday season has profound implications for your daytime functioning and your emotional state. REM sleep is crucial for emotional regulation. During REM sleep, your brain processes emotional content in a way that reduces its emotional charge. Memories that are emotionally intense become integrated and consolidated in a way that reduces their ability to trigger overwhelming emotions. This is why people often report that after a good night's sleep, emotional events from the previous day seem less overwhelming. During the holiday season, this emotional regulation function of REM sleep is particularly important. The holiday season often brings up complex emotions: joy and sadness, connection and loss, hope and nostalgia. These emotions can be intense and sometimes conflicting, but the increased REM sleep of the holiday season provides the opportunity for your brain to process these complex emotions, to integrate them, to find a way to hold both joy and sadness, both connection and loss, in a balanced and integrated way. The dreaming that occurs during REM sleep also serves a creative function. During dreams, your brain makes novel connections between disparate pieces of information. It generates creative solutions to problems. It imagines new possibilities and new ways of understanding. During the holiday season, this creative dreaming can lead to new insights about your life, new understanding of your relationships, new ways of making meaning from your experiences. Furthermore, REM sleep during the holiday season appears to be associated with enhanced memory for positive and meaningful experiences. While all memories benefit from REM sleep consolidation, emotionally positive and meaningful memories appear to be particularly well consolidated during REM sleep. This means that the joyful, meaningful experiences of the holiday season are being encoded into your memory in a particularly strong and durable way. They will be easier to recall in future years. They will have more emotional resonance. They will be more readily available to support calm and peace in future seasons. The amygdala's softening, how emotion transforms into restoration. Deep within your brain, nestled within the temporal lobes on either side of your head, there exists a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. This structure is sometimes described as your brain's threat detector, the region that scans your environment for danger and triggers fear and anxiety responses. The amygdala is essential for survival. Without it, you would not be able to recognize threats or respond appropriately to danger. Yet the amygdala is also prone to overactivity in modern life. When you live in a state of chronic stress, your amygdala becomes hyperactive, constantly scanning for threats, constantly triggering fear and anxiety responses, even when you are not actually in danger. But during the holiday season, something remarkable happens to your amygdala. It softens. It becomes less reactive. It becomes less likely to interpret ambiguous stimuli as threats. And this softening of the amygdala is one of the primary mechanisms through which the holiday season generates calm and peace. The softening of the amygdala begins with the activation of safety signals. When your brain recognizes the sensory cues of Christmas, the scents, the sounds, the sights, the tastes, it is not just activating memory systems and reward systems. It is also sending signals to your amygdala that say, you are safe. This place, these people, this time of year, they are safe. You do not need to be on guard. You do not need to scan for threats. You can relax your vigilance. These safety signals come from multiple sources. They come from the activation of your parasympathetic nervous system, which sends signals to your amygdala, indicating that threat level is low. They come from the activation of your prefrontal cortex, the region involved in rational thought and emotional regulation, which sends inhibitory signals to your amygdala, dampening its threat detection activity. They come from the release of neurochemicals like oxytocin and serotonin, which have direct calming effects on the amygdala. Together, these safety signals create a state in which your amygdala is less reactive and more capable of processing emotional information without triggering fear. What is particularly interesting about the amygdala's softening during the holiday season is that it is not a suppression or a numbing of emotion. Rather, it is a transformation of emotion. Your amygdala is still processing emotional information. You are still feeling emotions, but the emotions are being processed in a context of safety rather than in a context of threat. This fundamentally changes the quality and character of the emotional experience. Consider the difference between nostalgia and grief. Both involve the activation of memories of people or times that are no longer present. But nostalgia involves the activation of these memories in a context of safety and peace, while grief involves the activation of these memories in a context of loss and pain. The difference is not in the memories themselves, but in the neurobiological context in which the memories are being processed. During the holiday season, your amygdala's softening creates a context in which painful memories can be accessed, but in a way that does not trigger overwhelming distress. This is why people often report that during the holiday season, they can think about people who have died or relationships that have ended in a way that is sad but not devastating. The memories are still emotionally significant, but the emotional charge has been modulated. The amygdala is processing the emotional content, but it is not interpreting it as a current threat. Your brain is saying, yes, this is sad. Yes, this represents a loss. But you are safe. The loss is in the past. You are here, now, in safety. This allows you to process difficult emotions in a way that is integrated and healing, rather than overwhelming and destabilizing. The softening of the amygdala also affects how you interpret ambiguous social situations. The amygdala is involved in social threat detection. When you encounter a person or a social situation that is ambiguous, you're not sure whether the person is friendly or hostile, whether the situation is safe or dangerous, your amygdala activates to help you determine the threat level. But an overactive amygdala can interpret ambiguous situations as threatening when they are actually neutral or even positive. During the holiday season, the softening of your amygdala means that you are more likely to interpret ambiguous social situations as positive or neutral rather than threatening. A person who might seem intimidating or cold in other contexts might seem friendly and warm during the holiday season. A social gathering that might feel awkward or uncomfortable in other contexts might feel warm and welcoming during the holidays. This shift in interpretation is not based on a change in the actual social situation. Rather, it is based on a change in how your amygdala is interpreting the situation. The softening of the amygdala is also connected to the concept of emotional contagion. When you are around other people who are calm and peaceful, your amygdala is more likely to interpret the environment as safe. This is a form of social learning. Your brain learns about threat and safety partly through direct experience, but also through observing others. If the people around you are calm and peaceful, your brain interprets this as a signal that the environment is safe, and your amygdala accordingly softens its vigilance. During the holiday season, particularly during family gatherings and social celebrations, you are often surrounded by other people who are also experiencing the calming effects of the season. Their calm is contagious. Your amygdala observes their calm and interprets it as a signal of safety. This creates a positive feedback loop in which the collective calm of a gathering reinforces the individual calm of each person present. The softening of the amygdala also has implications for how you process and remember events. An amygdala in a state of vigilance tends to focus on threatening or negative information. It is more likely to notice and remember things that could be dangerous, but an amygdala that has softened tends to have a more balanced attention. It is more likely to notice and remember positive and meaningful information. During the holiday season, this shift in attentional focus means that you are more likely to notice and remember the positive and meaningful moments of the season and less likely to dwell on negative or threatening information. Oxytocin and belonging, the neurochemistry of feeling home. Within your brain and throughout your body, there exists a neurochemical called oxytocin. Often called the love hormone or the bonding hormone, oxytocin is released in response to social connection, physical touch, and feelings of safety and belonging. When oxytocin levels are elevated, you feel more trusting, more generous, more capable of empathy and connection. You feel less afraid, less defensive, more open to others. Oxytocin is the neurochemical substrate of belonging. During the holiday season, your oxytocin levels increase. This increase is triggered by multiple factors. The social connection of family gatherings and celebrations stimulates oxytocin release. The physical touch of hugs and embraces stimulates oxytocin release. The experience of being cared for and caring for others stimulates oxytocin release. The sense of belonging to a family, a community, a tradition stimulates oxytocin release. Together, these factors create a state of elevated oxytocin that profoundly affects your neurochemistry and your psychological state. The elevation of oxytocin during the holiday season has remarkable calming effects. Oxytocin directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the brake system that slows your heart and deepens your breathing. Oxytocin also directly affects your amygdala, dampening its threat detection activity and making it less reactive to potential threats. Oxytocin also affects your HPA axis, reducing the release of cortisol and other stress hormones. Through multiple pathways, oxytocin creates a state of profound calm and safety. But oxytocin does something more than simply calm you. It also creates a sense of belonging and connection. When oxytocin levels are elevated, you feel more connected to others. You feel more capable of understanding and empathizing with other people. You feel more trusting and more trustworthy. You feel less isolated and more part of a larger whole. This sense of belonging is not just emotionally satisfying, it is also profoundly health-promoting and peace-inducing. One of the remarkable things about oxytocin is that it can be triggered not just by actual social connection, but also by the memory or anticipation of social connection. When you think about people you love, when you recall memories of time spent together, oxytocin levels can increase. During the holiday season, you are constantly engaging in this kind of social remembering. You are thinking about people you love, recalling time spent together, anticipating future gatherings. Each of these acts of remembering and anticipation can trigger oxytocin release. This means that even if you are alone during the holiday season, even if you are not physically present with the people you love, you can still experience the calming and bonding effects of oxytocin by engaging in nostalgic remembering. Your brain does not clearly distinguish between actual social connection and vividly remembered or anticipated social connection. Both can trigger oxytocin release. Both can create a sense of belonging and connection. The elevation of oxytocin during the holiday season also affects how you perceive and interpret the world around you. Oxytocin enhances what is called the theory of mind, the ability to understand and predict the mental states of other people. When oxytocin levels are elevated, you are more likely to interpret other people's actions in a positive light, more likely to assume good intentions, more likely to be forgiving of mistakes or misunderstandings. This shift in perspective can transform social interactions and can significantly reduce conflict and misunderstanding. During the holiday season, this oxytocin-mediated shift in perspective can be particularly valuable. The holiday season often brings together family members who may have had conflicts or misunderstandings during the rest of the year. The elevated oxytocin of the season can facilitate forgiveness and reconciliation. You are more likely to give people the benefit of the doubt. You are more likely to overlook minor irritations. You are more likely to focus on shared history and shared values rather than on differences or conflicts. Oxytocin also plays a crucial role in what is called social buffering. This is the phenomenon in which the presence or support of others reduces stress responses and promotes calm and well-being. When you are with people you trust and feel connected to, your stress response systems are dampened, your cortisol levels are lower, your amygdala is less reactive, your overall physiological state is calmer. This is not because the external stressors have changed. Rather, it is because the presence of trusted others has changed your neurobiological response to those stressors. During the holiday season, social buffering is particularly powerful. The gatherings and celebrations of the season provide opportunities for social connection and support. Even if you are dealing with stressors or difficulties, the presence of loved ones the sense of belonging to a community. The experience of being cared for and supported can buffer you against the stress. Your nervous system is held, in a sense, by the nervous systems of those around you. The elevation of oxytocin during the holiday season also has implications for your sense of home. Home is not primarily a physical location. Rather, it is a neurobiological state, a sense of safety and belonging. Oxytocin is one of the primary neurochemicals involved in the sense of home. When oxytocin levels are elevated, you feel at home. You feel that you belong, that you are safe, that you are accepted and valued just as you are. During the holiday season, even if you are physically in a location that is not your primary residence, the elevation of oxytocin can create a sense of home. The gathering of people you love, the activation of familiar traditions and memories, the sense of belonging to something larger than yourself, all of these create the neurobiological state of home. The sensory gateway. How cinnamon, pine, and bells rewire your nervous system. Your senses are not passive receivers of information from the external world. Rather, they are active gates through which your brain interprets the world and determines your physiological state. During the holiday season, your senses become gates through which your brain accesses profound states of calm and peace. Each sensory modality, smell, sight, sound, taste, and touch, opens a different gateway, but they all lead to the same destination: a nervous system that is calm, a mind that is at peace, a body that is rested. Let us begin with smell, which is the most direct gateway to your limbic system. When you smell cinnamon, that scent molecules enter your nasal cavity and bind to olfactory receptors. These receptors send signals directly to your olfactory bulb, which has direct connections to your amygdala, your hippocampus, and your orbitofrontal cortex. These are the regions involved in emotion, memory, and emotional decision-making. This direct pathway means that smell can affect your emotional and physiological state with remarkable speed and power. Cinnamon, in particular, has a long history of association with warmth, comfort, and safety. In many cultures, cinnamon has been used in warm beverages and spiced foods that are served during winter and during times of gathering and celebration. Your brain has learned, through repeated exposure, to associate the scent of cinnamon with these contexts of warmth and safety. When you smell cinnamon during the holiday season, your brain instantly retrieves these associations. It recognizes the scent as a signal of safety and comfort, and it begins to shift your physiology accordingly. Similarly, the scent of pine is associated with forests, with nature, with the outdoors, with the fresh and the alive. During the holiday season, the scent of pine is associated with Christmas trees, with decorations, with the arrival of the holiday season. Your brain has learned to associate this scent with the seasonal shift toward rest and peace. The scent of pine opens a gateway to calm. But smell is only one sensory gateway. Sound is another. The sounds of the holiday season, carols, bells, laughter, the crackling of a fire, all have particular acoustic properties that affect your nervous system. Many Christmas carols, for example, are written in major keys and have slower tempos than much modern music. Research has shown that slower tempos and major keys are associated with relaxation and calm, while faster tempos and minor keys are associated with arousal and tension. When you listen to traditional Christmas carols, you are not just engaging in a pleasant activity. You are exposing your nervous system to acoustic stimuli that are specifically designed, whether intentionally or through cultural evolution, to promote calm. The sound of bells is particularly interesting. Bells have been used in many cultures to mark important moments and to create sacred space. The sound of a bell has acoustic properties that resonate with certain frequencies in your brain. Some research suggests that the sound of bells can actually entrain your brainwaves, bringing them into alignment with the frequencies of the bell. This entrainment can facilitate the shift from more active brainwave states to calmer, more meditative states. Vision is another powerful sensory gateway. The visual aesthetic of the holiday season, the warm lights, the deep greens and rich reds of decorations, the snow and ice of winter, all have visual properties that affect your nervous system. Warm colors like red and gold are associated with warmth and comfort. Cool colors like blue and white are associated with calm and peace. The particular visual aesthetic of the holiday season has evolved to balance these properties, creating an environment that is simultaneously warm and calm, exciting and peaceful. The dimmed lighting of the holiday season is particularly important. Winter brings shorter days and longer nights. The holiday season, with its emphasis on lights and illumination during the darkest time of year, creates a unique visual environment. The warm glow of holiday lights is associated with safety and comfort. Evolutionary humans have long associated darkness with danger and light with safety. The lights of the holiday season counteract the darkness of winter, signaling to your brain that safety is present even in the darkness. Taste is another sensory gateway. The flavors of the holiday season, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, ginger, chocolate, vanilla, are warming spices and rich flavors that have been associated with comfort and celebration across many cultures. These flavors are not just pleasant, they also have physiological effects. Many of the spices used in holiday foods have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. They can affect your digestion, your metabolism, and your overall sense of well-being. Touch is perhaps the most direct sensory gateway to your parasympathetic nervous system. Physical touch activates your vagus nerve and your parasympathetic nervous system. The touch of a loved one, the warmth of a hug, the softness of a blanket or sweater, the warmth of a mug of hot cider held in your hands, all of these tactile experiences activate your parasympathetic nervous system and promote calm. What is remarkable is that these sensory experiences do not operate in isolation. Rather, they operate together, creating a multi-sensory environment that is profoundly calming. When you smell cinnamon and hear a carol and see warm lights and taste a spiced drink and feel the warmth of a blanket, all of these sensory inputs converge on your nervous system simultaneously. Each one individually opens a gateway to calm, but together they create a flood of signals that your brain interprets as safety and peace. Moreover, these sensory experiences have been so frequently paired with safety and calm throughout your life that your nervous system has become conditioned to respond to them. This is classical conditioning, the same mechanism through which Pavlov's dogs learned to salivate at the sound of a bell. Your nervous system has learned that the sensory cues of Christmas predict safety and calm. When you encounter these cues, your nervous system automatically begins to shift toward calm, before you have even consciously recognized the sensory input. Time perception and temporal collapse. Why past feels present. During the holidays, time is not a fixed objective phenomenon. Rather, it is a construction of your brain, a way of organizing experience that allows you to navigate the world and make sense of your life. Your perception of time is profoundly influenced by your emotional state, your level of attention, and the context in which you are operating. During the holiday season, your perception of time changes in remarkable ways. The past feels present, the future feels accessible, the present moment feels expanded and full of significance. This temporal transformation is not merely subjective or psychological. Rather, it is rooted in the neurobiology of memory and temporal perception. Your brain's sense of time is generated by multiple neural systems, including your cerebellum, which is involved in the measurement of time intervals, your prefrontal cortex, which is involved in the organization of time into sequences, and your default mode network, which is involved in the mental simulation of past and future. During the holiday season, these temporal systems are engaged in a particular way that collapses the temporal distance between past and present. When you engage in nostalgic remembering, you are not simply recalling the past as a historical fact. Rather, you are mentally simulating the past, bringing it vividly into your present experience. Your brain is not just thinking about Christmas past, it is, in a sense, re-experiencing Christmas past. This re-experiencing is possible because of the way your brain constructs memories. Memories are not stored as complete recordings that can be played back. Rather, they are stored as patterns of neural activation. When you recall a memory, your brain reactivates those patterns, recreating the neural state that was present during the original experience. To a significant degree, the neural state of remembering is similar to the neural state of the original experience. This means that when you remember Christmas past, Your brain is recreating, to some extent, the neural state of Christmas past. You are, in a neurobiological sense, present in the remembered moment. This temporal collapse has profound implications for your sense of self and your sense of continuity. When you engage in nostalgic remembering, you are not just remembering past experiences, you are also retrieving past versions of yourself. The child who experienced Christmas long ago, the young adult who experienced Christmas years ago, the person you were at various points in your life, these past selves are retrieved and brought into present consciousness. You experience a sense of continuity with these past selves. You understand yourself as a continuous being who has persisted through time, who carries within you all the versions of yourself that you have been. This sense of continuity is profoundly reassuring. In the midst of constant change, in a world that is often unstable and unpredictable, the sense that you are a continuous self who has persisted through time creates a sense of stability and coherence. You are not just a disconnected moment of consciousness. You are a being with a history, with continuity, with a narrative that extends backward through time and forward into the future. The temporal collapse of the holiday season also affects how you experience the present moment. When the past feels present, when you are mentally simulating past experiences with vivid detail, your sense of the present moment expands. You are not just experiencing the literal present, the narrow slice of time that is right now. Rather, you are experiencing a present that contains within it echoes and resonances of the past. The present moment becomes thick with meaning and significance. This expansion of the present moment is associated with a particular state of consciousness called flow, or what some describe as a state of timelessness. In this state, you are so absorbed in the present experience that you lose track of time. Minutes seem like seconds. Hours seem like minutes. The distinction between past and future fades away. You are simply present, fully engaged with what is happening right now. During the holiday season, this state of expanded present moment awareness is particularly accessible. The sensory richness of the season, the emotional significance of the memories that are activated, the sense of belonging and connection that is present, all of these factors facilitate the shift into this state of timelessness. And this state of timelessness is deeply restful. When you are not constantly aware of the passage of time, when you are not anxious about past regrets or future concerns, your nervous system can relax into peace. The temporal collapse of the holiday season also affects how you plan and anticipate the future. When you engage in nostalgic remembering, you are accessing memories of past holiday seasons, but you are also using these memories to anticipate future holiday seasons. Your brain is saying, this is what Christmas has been like in the past, therefore this is what Christmas will be like in the future. This anticipation creates a sense of security about the future. You know what is coming. You can count on it. This predictability is deeply calming. Furthermore, the temporal collapse of the holiday season can facilitate the processing of loss and change. When past versions of yourself and past moments in time are brought into present awareness, you have the opportunity to revisit them with new understanding and new perspective. If you have experienced loss, the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, a change in your family structure, you can revisit the memories of that person or that relationship with the perspective and understanding that you now have. You can grieve, but you can also appreciate. You can acknowledge the loss, but you can also celebrate what was shared. The default mode network. When your brain wanders into nostalgia, your brain is not always focused on the external world. In fact, for a significant portion of your waking hours, your brain is not focused on immediate external tasks or stimuli. Instead, it is turned inward, engaged in thought, imagination, and reflection. This inward-turned state of consciousness is generated by a large-scale brain network called the default mode network. This network includes your medial prefrontal cortex, your posterior cingulate cortex, your precuneus, your angular gyrus, and your medial temporal lobes, including your hippocampus. The default mode network is active when you are not focused on external tasks. It is active when you are daydreaming, when you are thinking about yourself and your life, when you are remembering the past, when you are imagining the future, when you are engaging in creative thought. The default mode network is the neural basis of your inner life, the realm of your thoughts, emotions, and imagination. During the holiday season, your default mode network becomes particularly active and particularly engaged with nostalgic remembering. You find yourself drifting into memories of past holidays. You find yourself imagining future holidays. You find yourself reflecting on how you have changed over the years, on the people in your life, on what matters most to you. These are all default mode network activities. What is remarkable about the default mode network is that it is associated with a particular kind of consciousness that is quite different from the consciousness that is active when you are focused on external tasks. When your default mode network is active, your sense of time expands. Your sense of self becomes more reflective and more integrated. Your sense of meaning and significance becomes more prominent. You are less concerned with immediate practical tasks and more concerned with understanding, with meaning, with the bigger picture of your life. This shift in consciousness is profoundly different from the consciousness that is active during much of modern life. When you are working, when you are focused on practical tasks, when you are navigating the demands of daily life, your brain is primarily engaged in what is called task-positive networks. These networks are focused on external goals, external demands, external problem-solving. They are goal-oriented and future-oriented. They are concerned with doing and achieving. But the default mode network is different. It is not goal-oriented in the same way. Rather, it is meaning-oriented. It is concerned with understanding, with integration, with the coherence of your life narrative. When your default mode network is active, you are not trying to accomplish something. Rather, you are trying to understand something, to make sense of something, to find meaning in something. During the holiday season, the shift toward default mode network activity is profound. You find that you have more time and mental space for reflection. You find that you are less driven by external demands and more inclined toward internal reflection. You find that your mind naturally drifts toward memories, toward imagination, toward contemplation. This is not laziness or lack of focus. Rather, it is a shift toward a different kind of mental activity, a kind of mental activity that is essential for well-being, for meaning-making, for the integration of experience. The default mode network activity of the holiday season is also associated with what is called mind-wandering. Mind-wandering is often described negatively as a failure of attention or focus. But research has shown that mind-wandering, particularly when it involves self-referential thought and autobiographical memory, is associated with well-being, creativity, and the integration of experience. During the holiday season, when you allow your mind to wander into nostalgic memories, you are engaging in a form of mental activity that is beneficial for your psychological well-being. The default mode network is also involved in what is called theory of mind, the ability to understand and predict the mental states of others. When your default mode network is active, you are more likely to be thinking about other people, to be considering their perspectives and their experiences, to be imagining what they are thinking and feeling. During the holiday season, this activity of the default mode network facilitates connection and empathy. You are thinking about people you love, imagining their experiences, considering their perspectives. This mental activity strengthens your sense of connection to others. What is particularly interesting is that the default mode network is active during rest and during sleep. When you are resting, when you are not engaged in external tasks, your default mode network activates. And when you are sleeping, your default mode network continues to be active, particularly during REM sleep. This means that the default mode network activity of the holiday season is compatible with rest and with sleep. You can engage in nostalgic remembering while resting. You can engage in meaning-making while sleeping. The mental activity of the default mode network does not prevent rest. Rather, it facilitates a particular kind of rest, a rest that is restorative not just physically, but also psychologically and spiritually. The default mode network is also involved in what is called temporal binding, the integration of past, present, and future into a coherent sense of time and self. When your default mode network is active, you are not just experiencing the present moment. Rather, you are experiencing the present moment in the context of your past and in the context of your anticipated future. You are able to see yourself as a continuous being who extends backward through time and forward into the future. This temporal integration is one of the ways that your brain creates meaning and coherence. Neuroplasticity and seasonal rhythms. How repetition creates deeper rest. Your brain is not a fixed structure. Rather, it is a dynamic, constantly changing organ that is shaped by your experience. This capacity of your brain to change in response to experience is called neuroplasticity. Throughout your life, your brain is being reshaped by your experiences, by your thoughts, by your actions. And over the course of many years, these changes accumulate, creating a brain that reflects the life you have lived. During the holiday season, neuroplasticity operates on a seasonal rhythm. Every year at this time, you engage in nostalgic remembering. Every year at this time, you activate memories of past holidays. Every year at this time, you experience the sensory cues of Christmas. Every year at this time, you engage in family gatherings and traditions. This annual repetition is not random or accidental. Rather, it is a form of learning, a way in which your brain becomes increasingly specialized for the experience of holiday calm and peace. With each passing year, the neural networks associated with Christmas memories become stronger and more interconnected. The pathways through which your brain activates these memories become more efficient. The associations between Christmas cues and calm become more deeply ingrained. Your brain is learning year after year to recognize the approach of the holiday season and to shift toward calm more readily and more completely. This seasonal learning is a form of what is called state-dependent learning. Your brain learns not just the content of memories, but also the physiological states in which memories are encoded. Every year when you engage in nostalgic remembering, you are encoding these memories in a state of calm, in a state of parasympathetic activation, in a state of safety. Over many years, your brain has learned to strongly associate Christmas memories with the physiological state of calm. The memories and the state have become so deeply linked that activating the memories automatically activates the state. The neuroplasticity of seasonal rhythms also involves changes in your brain's structure. Repeated activation of neural networks strengthens the connections between neurons. Over time, the repeated activation of Christmas-related neural networks during the holiday season actually changes the physical structure of your brain. The connections become stronger and more numerous. The regions involved in these networks become more responsive and more active. Your brain is literally being reshaped by the repeated experience of the holiday season. This structural change has profound implications. It means that the calm you experience during the holiday season is not just a temporary state. Rather, it is the result of years of learning and neural reorganization. Your brain has been shaped by decades of holiday experiences. It has learned through repetition to generate calm in response to Christmas cues. And this learned capacity is becoming more and more deeply embedded in the structure of your brain. The seasonal rhythm of neuroplasticity also means that your capacity for holiday calm actually increases over time. If you compare your experience of the holiday season at age 20 with your experience at age 40 or age 60, you may notice that the calm feels deeper, more profound, more complete. This is not just because you are older and perhaps wiser. Rather, it is because your brain has had more years of practice, more cycles of learning, more opportunities to strengthen the neural networks associated with holiday calm. The neuroplasticity of seasonal rhythms is also connected to the concept of memory consolidation. As you go through the holiday season, you are creating new memories of current experiences, but you are also reactivating and reconsolidating old memories from previous holiday seasons. Each time you reactivate an old memory, that memory is temporarily malleable. It can be updated and modified before being reconsolidated. Over the years, as you repeatedly reactivate and reconsolidate your Christmas memories, these memories become increasingly integrated with your current understanding and current perspective. This ongoing integration of memories is deeply meaningful. It means that your Christmas memories are not fixed in the past. Rather, they are living, dynamic memories that are constantly being updated and reintegrated. Each year, you revisit your Christmas memories with new understanding, new perspective, new life experience. You are able to see these memories in new light, to find new meaning in them, to understand them more deeply. This ongoing process of memory integration is itself deeply restorative. The neuroplasticity of the holiday season also involves what is called bottom-up and top-down processing. Bottom-up processing is when sensory information from the environment drives your brain's response. When you smell cinnamon, the scent drives your brain to activate memories and calm states. Top-down processing is when your conscious thoughts and intentions drive your brain's response. When you consciously decide to remember a Christmas from your childhood, your conscious intention drives your brain to activate that memory. During the holiday season, both bottom-up and top-down processing are working together, reinforcing each other, creating a multifaceted learning process that deeply embeds the association between Christmas cues and calm states. The integration of loss and joy, why melancholy deepens our peace. The holiday season is often described as a time of joy and celebration, yet for many people, the holiday season is also tinged with sadness, with longing, with melancholy. People who have experienced loss, the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, estrangement from family, often find that the holiday season intensifies their sense of loss. The memories of past holidays become reminders of what is no longer present. The gathering of family members highlights the absence of those who are no longer here. The joy that others seem to be experiencing can intensify the sense of isolation or grief. Yet what is remarkable is that this melancholy, this sadness, this sense of loss does not necessarily prevent the deep calm and peace of the holiday season. Rather, in many cases, it deepens it. The integration of loss and joy, the ability to hold both sadness and happiness at the same time, creates a kind of emotional depth and richness that is profoundly peaceful. This integration of loss and joy is possible because of the way your brain processes emotion. Your brain does not experience emotions as isolated, discrete states. Rather, emotions exist in a multidimensional emotional space. You can experience sadness and joy at the same time. You can feel loss and gratitude at the same time. You can feel longing and contentment at the same time. These seemingly contradictory emotions can coexist, and their coexistence creates a kind of emotional complexity and richness that is distinct from either emotion alone. During the holiday season, the integration of loss and joy is facilitated by the activation of your default mode network and the processing of memories in your REM sleep. When you engage in nostalgic remembering, you are not just activating happy memories. You are activating memories that are complex, that contain within them multiple emotional dimensions. A memory of Christmas with a person who has since died contains both the joy of that experience and the sadness of that person's absence. A memory of a family gathering that no longer occurs contains both the happiness of the gathering and the loss of that gathering. As your brain processes these complex memories, it is integrating the different emotional dimensions. Your amygdala is processing the emotional content. Your prefrontal cortex is providing context and meaning. Your default mode network is integrating the memories into your life narrative. Through this integrated processing, the emotions become less overwhelming and more integrated. The sadness does not disappear. Rather, it becomes contextualized. It becomes understood as part of a larger story, a larger narrative of your life. This integration of loss and joy is also facilitated by the temporal collapse of the holiday season. When the past feels present, when you are mentally re-experiencing past holidays with vivid detail, you have the opportunity to revisit past experiences and past relationships with new understanding. You can appreciate what was shared, even though it is no longer present. You can grieve the loss, but you can also celebrate what was. You can acknowledge that things have changed, but you can also recognize that the meaning and the value of what was shared has not diminished. The integration of loss and joy is profoundly connected to what psychologists call resilience. Resilience is not the absence of difficulty or pain. Rather, it is the capacity to experience difficulty and pain while maintaining the ability to find meaning, to connect with others, to experience joy and peace. The holiday season facilitates resilience by creating a context in which loss can be acknowledged and integrated, while joy and peace are also present. Furthermore, the integration of loss and joy appears to deepen the overall sense of peace and calm. When you are able to hold both sadness and joy, both loss and gratitude, you are not suppressing or denying any part of your experience. You are accepting the full complexity of your emotional life. This acceptance, this integration, this willingness to feel the full range of human emotion creates a sense of peace that is deeper and more genuine than a peace that is based on the denial or suppression of difficult emotions. The integration of loss and joy is also connected to the concept of what is called bittersweet emotion. Bittersweet emotions are emotions that contain both positive and negative dimensions. They are emotions that are complex, nuanced, and deeply human. The holiday season, with its mixture of joy and loss, celebration and longing, often evokes bittersweet emotions. And these bittersweet emotions, while they contain sadness, are often experienced as deeply meaningful and deeply peaceful. The ability to integrate loss and joy also facilitates what is called post-traumatic growth or benefit finding. When people have experienced difficult experiences, when they have experienced loss or trauma, they often report that over time, they are able to find meaning and growth in those difficult experiences. The holiday season can facilitate this process by engaging in nostalgic remembering, by integrating difficult memories with current understanding, by allowing sadness and joy to coexist. You are creating the conditions for growth and meaning-making, the eternal return, building your own neurobiological sanctuary. We have journeyed together through the profound neurobiological mechanisms through which the holiday season creates calm and peace. We have explored how memories are reconstructed, how your nervous system shifts toward rest, how your brain chemistry transforms, how sensory cues open gateways to peace. We have examined the intricate dance of neurotransmitters and hormones, the activation of neural networks, the shifts in consciousness that characterize the holiday season. And now, as we approach the completion of this exploration, we arrive at a question that is both practical and profound. How can you build and maintain your own neurobiological sanctuary? A place of peace that you can access not just during the holiday season, but throughout the year. The answer lies in understanding that the mechanisms through which the holiday season creates calm are not limited to the holiday season. Rather, they are mechanisms that you can activate and strengthen through intentional practice and repeated engagement. Just as your brain has learned, through decades of repetition, to recognize Christmas cues and respond with calm, your brain can learn to recognize other cues and respond with calm. Just as your nervous system has been shaped by years of holiday experiences, your nervous system can be shaped by intentional practices that you engage in regularly. The first step in building your own neurobiological sanctuary is to recognize and honor the wisdom of your own nervous system. Your brain has learned through experience what creates calm and peace. Your body knows, through its physiological responses, what supports rest and restoration. Rather than imposing external practices or techniques that do not align with your own learning and your own physiology, begin by recognizing what truly works for you. What sensory experiences create calm? What memories bring peace? What social connections support your well-being? What activities facilitate your sense of meaning and purpose? Once you have identified what genuinely works for you, the next step is to create intentional practices that activate these mechanisms regularly. If you find that certain scents create calm, keep those scents present in your environment. If certain music facilitates peace, listen to that music regularly. If certain memories bring comfort, engage in nostalgic remembering as a regular practice. If certain people support your well-being, maintain and deepen those relationships. The key is to create regular, repeated engagement with the things that your nervous system has learned to associate with calm and peace. This regular engagement is crucial because of the neuroplasticity of your brain. Just as your brain has become specialized for holiday calm through decades of annual repetition, your brain can become specialized for year-round calm through regular, repeated engagement with calming practices. Each time you engage in a calming practice, you are strengthening the neural networks associated with that practice. Each time you activate a calming memory or sensation, you are reinforcing the association between that memory or sensation and the physiological state of calm. The creation of a personal neurobiological sanctuary also involves the cultivation of what might be called sacred time and sacred space. During the holiday season, the season itself creates a sense of sacred time, a time that is distinct from ordinary time, a time that is set apart for rest and reflection. You can create this sense of sacred time in your own life by designating particular times that are devoted to rest, reflection, and connection. This might be a daily practice of quiet reflection in the morning or evening. It might be a weekly gathering with people you love. It might be seasonal practices that honor the rhythms of nature and the changing of the seasons. Sacred space is similarly important. The holiday season creates a sense of sacred space through the transformation of your environment with decorations, with lights, with the visual and sensory aesthetic of the season. You can create sacred space in your own life by intentionally designing your environment to support calm and peace. This might involve creating a space that contains objects that are meaningful to you, that evokes memories and emotions that are important to you, that engages your senses in ways that are calming and restorative. The building of a personal neurobiological sanctuary also involves the cultivation of what is called ritual. Rituals are repeated, structured activities that have meaning and significance beyond their immediate practical purpose. The rituals of the holiday season, decorating, gathering, preparing special foods, exchanging gifts, are not just practical activities. They are meaningful rituals that connect you to your past, to your community, to your values and beliefs. You can create your own meaningful rituals that serve similar purposes, rituals that mark important moments in time, that honor important relationships and values, that connect you to something larger than yourself. Furthermore, the building of a personal sanctuary involves the cultivation of what might be called intentional nostalgia. Rather than waiting for the holiday season to engage in nostalgic remembering, you can intentionally engage in nostalgic practices throughout the year. You can look at old photographs. You can listen to music that evokes memories. You can visit places that are meaningful to you. You can reach out to people from your past. Through these intentional practices, you are regularly activating the memory systems and emotional systems that generate calm and peace. The cultivation of social connection is also crucial for building a personal sanctuary. The holiday season facilitates connection through gatherings, through shared traditions, through the sense of belonging to a community. You can cultivate connection throughout the year by maintaining and deepening relationships with people you love, by participating in communities that align with your values, by creating opportunities for meaningful connection and shared experience. I would like to know, where are you listening from and what time is it there? Your location and your time are part of your unique neurobiological sanctuary. They are part of the particular circumstances of your life, the particular environment in which your brain and body are operating. As you move forward with the intention of building your own sanctuary of peace, remember that your sanctuary will be unique to you. It will be shaped by your particular experiences, your particular memories, your particular values and beliefs. There is no single right way to create a sanctuary. Rather, there are as many ways as there are individuals, each creating their own unique path toward peace and rest. As you continue this journey beyond this video, remember that the mechanisms we have explored are always available to you. Your brain's capacity for nostalgic remembering is always there. Your nervous system's capacity to shift toward calm is always there. Your body's capacity for rest and restoration is always there. The holiday season simply makes these capacities more accessible, more obvious, more easily activated, but they are always present, waiting to be engaged, waiting to support your well-being and your peace. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the neuroscience of nostalgia. If this experience has brought you inner peace, I'd appreciate a like and subscription to Relaxing Science. Also, let us know if you'd like to see more content like this. Your feedback helps us understand what resonates with you, what supports your journey toward peace and well-being. As you move forward, carry with you the understanding that the calm you have experienced, the insights you have gained, the sense of peace that may be present with you now, these are not fleeting or temporary. Rather, they are rooted in the deep neurobiological wisdom of your own brain and body. They are available to you whenever you choose to access them. They are the fruits of your brain's remarkable capacity to learn, to grow, to create meaning and peace from experience. The holiday season will come again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. And each time it comes, your brain will recognize it, will activate the neural networks that have been strengthened through years of learning, will shift your entire physiology toward calm and peace. But you need not wait for the season to return. You can access these mechanisms now, can activate these networks, can shift your physiology toward calm through intentional practice and engagement. The eternal return is not just the return of the seasons, it is the return to peace, the return to calm, the return to a sense of home and belonging that is always available to you. It is the recognition that within your own brain, within your own body, within your own capacity for memory and meaning-making, there exists a sanctuary of peace that is always there, waiting to be accessed, waiting to support your well-being, waiting to bring you home. As you rest now, as you allow the insights and understandings from this journey to settle into your consciousness, know that you are supported by the remarkable wisdom of your own nervous system. Your brain knows how to create calm, your body knows how to rest, your mind knows how to find meaning and peace. Trust these capacities, engage with them, build upon them, and know that you are never alone, never without resources, never without the ability to return to peace. This is the gift of the holiday season, and this is the gift that you can give to yourself throughout the year. The gift of rest, of peace, of belonging, of meaning, of home. Total.